Thank you for clicking the video, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Plural, and on this channel, I like to do hip-hop album reviews. I take an album, I listen to each song, give a brief breakdown of each one, and then rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. Just a reminder that music is subjective, and just because I like or dislike something doesn't mean that you're obligated to like or dislike something, so I suggest that you listen to the album yourself and form your own opinion. In this episode, we have a TikTok rapper, 1900 Rugrats Porch to Pent. He's an American rapper based out of West Palm Beach, Florida, who started his career in 2017, but he really started to blow up more recently on his TikTok freestyles. One of those actually really blew him up. He is fairly new on the scene, and he is signed to 300 Entertainment. Y'all heard of 1900 Rugrat yet? Because I've seen a couple of his TikTok videos, but he is supposed to be an artist to watch, so without further ado, here's the review. Track 1 is called The Intro. I gotta say that the beat for this is a little weak until the drop at around a minute. It is kind of hard after the drop though. Rugrats' verse started off okay, but it is a little back and forth from there, so I'm really only gonna say it is okay. Can anybody tell me what he meant with his raisin bar? It just kind of confused me. Overall though, I would only say that the song is average, and I gotta give it a soft 5. Track 2, Way Too Geeked. The hook for this is low-key dope, and I gotta say that it is the best part of the song for sure. His verse is pretty solid. He has a few one-liners worth mentioning, like beefing with the baker and toting a ray gun. Those were highlights of his verse. This song is actually pretty hard if I'm being honest, and I'm gonna give it a soft 7. Track 3, Bussin' Baby, featuring Lil Yachty, who is on the hook, and he also takes the first verse on this. And I gotta say that I'm not really feeling Yachty's parts at all. The hook was below average, and his verse was worse than that. But Rugrats' verse was actually pretty solid, and they make the song with the beat and Rugrat carrying it to a soft 6. Track 4, Dying About Respect. This is featuring Rick from the Creek. The hook is okay, a little up and down, but still fairly solid. Rugrats' verse was a little lackluster, but his best bar and my favorite one of his verse was the plug trying to tack so I ain't copping shit. Rick's verse was lame in my opinion, and yeah, the hook saved the song from being a total skip, but I am going to give it a soft 4. Track 5, She Keep It Drip. The hook for this is lame to me, and it really kind of feels like mumble rap. But his verse was okay though. The first few bars that he does on this is probably the best part, but it really is only average if I'm being honest. This song just wasn't it, and really semi-weak, so I'm going to give it a soft 3. Well, we're a quarter away through the album, and I really got to say that it really only has been average. What are your guys' takes on the first 5 songs? I'm curious to know. Let me know in the comments. Track 6, Auntie Ain't Playin', featuring Skrilla. The beat for this is kind of hard if I'm being honest, and I was really digging it. It's got that familiar oh as the backdrop, which really, it's just hyped. Rugrat takes the first verse, and I gotta say that it was complete garbage to me. The hook is kind of smooth, but it does lean in on the beat, the prominent parts. So I gotta say that Skrilla's verse was the better of the 2 verses that were on this track, but it still really is only average. And overall, as a song, I gotta say that this one's a skip at a hard 3. Track 7, Dirty Ass Soda. The first half of the hook is low-key dope, but on the other hand, the second half is kind of weak in my opinion. The beat is a banger, and it carries the track if I'm being honest. But Rugrats' verse is kind of weak to me, and I wasn't really feeling it. The last little bit of his bars, like the maybe last 2 or 3, were pretty solid, but overall, it's just an average verse. The beat and the hook make this song a hard 6. Track 8, the One Take Remix, featuring Kodak Black. The beat is super dope, and Rugrat is really snapping in his verse. The I'm Already White Bitch was probably my favorite part of the song. And around 145, he does take a little bit of a dip, but he is still doing his thing. I wasn't really feeling Kodak's verse, to be honest, but the one thing to note is that Kodak is co-signing here. Overall, I enjoyed the song, so I'm going to give it a soft 7. Track 9, Never That. The hook for this is decent, low-key dope if I'm being honest. He is doing his thing in his verse as well. I love the cadence that he does in the middle of his verse. Super smooth. And then the outro of the song is him saying that he was broke, so people need to quit asking him for money. This song is low key hard, so I'm going to give it a soft 8. Track 10, Clean and Dirty. The beat for this is super dope. The synth lead is sick. The hook is dope as well, probably my favorite part of the song. He does it right at the very beginning and right at the very end. He is snapping in his verse too. The first part is super dope. He does take a little bit of a dip in the middle, but he picks it back up and it is a solid verse. One of the better songs in the album and probably my favorite. I'm giving it a hard 9. The first half of the album is pretty solid. He starts off a little average, but he starts to pick it up and it is starting to turn out to be a pretty solid album so far. If you aren't already aware, I am a partner with Dubby Energy, the clean, healthier, and more affordable energy solution. If you go to dubby.gg today and use the code SUSTREET at checkout, you will get a 10% off discount. So head over there today and let them know that I sent you. Track 11, Cheat Codes. This is featuring Bossman D-Lo. The beat for this is a banger, and I really enjoyed it. The hook is solid as well. But I do gotta say that Rugrats' verse was a little bit below average. A little lackluster in my opinion. D-Lo's verse starts off weak, but he does progressively get better throughout the verse. And he does have the better of the two verses in the song, which is really only average, so I'm gonna give it a hard 5. Track 12, Two-Tone Maybach. The beat for this is a little lackluster in my opinion. But I gotta say that the first part of the hook is the best part of the song. Really the only part worth listening to in my opinion. The second half of the hook is lame, and his verse is lame as well. I don't even really want to talk about it too much. Another skip, I'm giving this a hard 2. Track 13, WTF, which is my exact opinion of this song, because what even is this? It kind of feels like he's trying to sing, and it just hits horribly. I'm kind of glad that it's not even 2 minutes. I don't want to spend any more time on this song than I have to, so I'm going to give it a soft 1. Track 14, Let Me Know. If I'm being honest, I couldn't really tell you what he is saying in this song. The hook was kind of lame to me. I mean, I could really kind of make out what he was saying in the hook, but I just really wasn't feeling it. The second verse is his best verse, but that really is only average, so I'm just going to give this song a hard 3. Track 15, Molly Girl. The start of the hook is okay, but he makes another attempt at singing that just falls flat. His first verse is kind of weak, but I did like the swine flu bar. And then at the end of his verse, he does that moaning thing that singers like to do, and that also fell flat. The second verse is okay, I guess, but really only average if I'm being honest. Which is just like the rest of the song, so I'm going to give it a hard 4. I can't lie to y'all, this was a hard part of the project and a hard part of the recording process as well. I get that he's trying to be versatile, but this just isn't it for me. I would like to hear your guys' opinion. Are you rocking with this type of style, or do you think that he should not do this anymore? Anyways, on to track 16, Playing Safety. The beat for this is the best part in my opinion, hands down. If I'm being honest, I don't really like the cadence that he uses in this. Just really weak to me. I'm not really a fan of these types of songs. But the hook was okay, I guess. And it's the best part of the song in my opinion. But his verse didn't hit to me, and he didn't really say anything that caught my ear either. So I'm going to give this a soft 4. Track 17, Tender. This one has an exact type feel of the last song. And like I said, I'm not really a fan of this one. And this one is just even worse than the last one. There wasn't really much that I liked about it. I don't really want to spend too much time on it and give it a hard 2. Track 18, February 7th. This song is okay. The hook is pretty smooth if I'm being honest. His verse is decent as well. Not great, but just average. He is hitting on what feels to be some personal issues that I thought flowed pretty smooth. It is fairly short at 1:39 and is a little bit of a bright spot in what happens to be a lackluster second half so far. But I'm only going to give it a hard 5. Track 19, Never Been the Same. The hook for this is actually pretty hard. Started talking to the mic because they couldn't feel my pain. Sick. And then the first few bars of his verse were kind of dope too. Maybe like the first 4 or 5, but then he kind of falls off heavily after that. And then the hook comes back around. Like I said, it's the highlight of the song. but it really is only a little bit above average, so I'm going to give it a soft 6. And then track 20 is the original one take freestyle, which is basically a repeat. So I don't really want to spend too much time on it, but I do want to say that without Kodak's verse, it is a little bit better. So I'm just going to give it a hard 7. This album was kind of a pain for me to get through. Don't get me wrong, he does have a few bangers, but for the most part, they're only really average or they're skips, with the first half being much better than the second. The second half was a headache and a handful. And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that he doesn't show promise because, like I said, he does have some bangers, but for the most part, I wouldn't recommend this album. Clean and Dirty happens to be my favorite song on the album. Which one is yours? I would like to know. Let me know in the comments. If you made it this far, do me a favor and hit that like button. I also have another album review that you would be interested in right up here, or just hit that subscribe button right up here. Until next time, friends, peace.